but I never thought I'd be thanked for them in America for acknowledging their right to exist.
I never thought that there would be 50 hostages still in captivity 648 days later. I never thought on the streets of New York City people would be screaming about globalizing the intifada. And unfortunately, anti-Jewishness, anti-Semitism, anti-Zionism is at an all-time high.
Loathsome actor Michael Rapaport went on Chris Cuomo's show to spew nonsense.
But I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that we are the last acceptable people to openly, outwardly, aggressively, passionately hate. And it's happening all over the world. It's happening in my city with this socialist Democrat, who I think is a Democrat in name only. He's a Dino, this Zohran guy who calls for the globalization of the intifada in New York City. His best friend, Khalil Muhammad, calls for the globalization of the intifada in New York City. And we are this close to having a person like that become mayor of what should be considered the greatest city in the world. But the fact that this guy's even in contention is a slap in the face.
Let's pause here.
A particular phrase that might not be central to the conversation becomes a stumbling block. How would you, as the mayor of all New Yorkers, how would you sort of bridge or navigate that?
I think by refocusing on what has caused so many New Yorkers anguish, especially in this moment. You know, it was just a few months ago that I met a New Yorker in Brooklyn who told me of how more than 80 members of her family had been killed by the Israeli military in Gaza. This is a devastation that many New Yorkers are feeling personally. It's one that for others they are witnessing on a day-to-day basis, and it continues until today. You know, just last week, NBC News reported that the Israeli military bombed a health clinic in Gaza, killing 10 children, including a 1-year-old who had just uttered his first words hours before. We are speaking of a place that is now home to the greatest number of child amputees in modern history. And what offends so many in our city, this horror, is one that is subsidized by our country.
Because Mamdani even said himself that the term was not language that I use, but that I don't believe that the role of the mayor is to police speech. To be clear, many believe and hear it as a call for violence towards Jewish people. Other terms and phrases have also caught this stray. When asked by the Bulwark about the slogan, he said it captured a desperate desire for equality and equal human rights in standing up for Palestinian human rights. He even said the U.S. Holocaust Museum had used the word intifada in Arabic language descriptions of the 1943 Warsaw Ghetto Uprising against the Nazis. I want to be clear about something. In this segment, I'm going to air an interview that appeared on my channel, The Rick Strom Show, where I interviewed founding member Jerobi White because Michael Rapaport directed the Tribe Called Quest documentary that's coming out. Though the Apartheid Defense League's Jonathan Greenblatt hated Mamdani's answer, that should be a tell because this is the same organization that has allowed Donald Trump to skate by and even defended Elon Musk from doing a double Sig Heil when it came to the president's inauguration. Chloe Skinner, a research fellow at the Institute of Development Studies, would write for Mideast Journal. She explained the meaning of intifada and globalized the intifada. Referring to a civil uprising, intifada is an Arabic term that translates to a shaking off, long used in Palestine to refer to the shaking off of the shackles of colonial domination, including through mass civil disobedience, unity, and solidarity, boycotts, divestment, and sanctions. Beneath the burgeoning death toll across Palestine are global systems of power rooted in the logic, history, and present of colonial violence. As such, in the face of G-side, the intifada, the shaking off of colonial dynamics of racism, violence, dehumanization, and division must be globalized.
It's been 2 years and so many people are just blaming Israel and not really educating themselves. And the reality of the situation is it takes two to tango. And I guarantee you all these people that want to talk about Israel and all that stuff and Zionist this and Zionist that, Zionism simply means the right for Israel to exist as a sovereign nation. I wish that word never, ever was conjured up, because it sounds like some exotic plant or some exotic way of thinking. It simply means that Israel has the right to exist. And all these people on these college campuses, they would love to live in Israel before they would love to live in any one of these countries that we've been talking about, let alone in Gaza. It's been 2 years, and so many people are just blaming Israel and not really educating themselves. And the reality of the situation is it takes two to tango. And I guarantee you, all these people that want to talk about Israel and all that stuff, and Zionist this and Zionist that, Zionism simply means the right for Israel to exist as a sovereign nation. I wish that word never, ever was conjured up, because it sounds like some exotic plant or some exotic way of thinking. It simply means that Israel has the right to exist. And all these people on these college campuses, they would love to live in Israel before they would love to live in any one of these countries that we've been talking about, let alone in Gaza.
Pause once more. Furthermore, Judaism and Zionism are not the same. Judaism is a revealed religion. Zionism is a political ideology. The Business Standard adds, Judaism is a religion and cultural identity that has evolved over millennia, while Zionism is a political ideology centered on the establishment and preservation of a Jewish state in Israel. Theodor Herzl is widely regarded as the father of the modern political movement of Zionism. He envisioned the establishment of a Jewish homeland in response to the prevalent antisemitism and as a haven for Jews facing persecution. The early leaders of Zionism had the goal of establishing a Jewish state and the first Zionist colony in historic Palestine since the late 1800s. At the turn of the century, waves of newcomers, Jewish immigrants, started to come and establish Jewish settlements. They had opposing Zionism, and criticism of the Israeli government is not inherently anti-Semitic. It is imperative to distinguish between criticism of political ideologies or policies and prejudice against a particular religious group. A history of persecution against the Jews does not nullify legitimate criticism of the Israeli government and its policies. As promised, I asked Jerobi White, founding member of Tribe, what he thought about Michael Rapaport, how Rapaport portrayed Tribe in the documentary, and with everything that we just discussed in this segment. Enjoy. When it did come out, what was the group's reaction?
We were pissed why we had so much drama around the releasing of that movie and all that stuff, because Michael Rapaport made that movie for himself. Okay, Tribe fans don't want to hear that bull. They want to hear how we looped up this. What record did we use for that? Like, they want to hear that. Then we're nerds. We want to hear more about the process. Tip only chopped up one beat in the movie.
That's right.
Like one in the movie. Tribe fans don't want that. They want to hear how we did the processes and stuff.
So you think he is an opportunist?
I think that Michael Rapaport is a huge hip hop fan. He was one of the 3 or 4 white dudes that was at the parties back in the days. So that led to us using him because he was there. There were other people who wanted to direct the movie, but I was like, maybe they would have been more qualified and made a better product, but they weren't there. We gave Rapaport the edge because he was there. In the middle of the making of the movie, they started having an argument and fight or whatever. And he threw whatever script he had before and focused on that. Because that was the time when the tabloid TV and all that stupid shit was on TV. The sex and drama sells. So that was he got caught up in that.
But really, it felt like it was just a disagreement between brothers. Like everybody beefs.
Dude, thank you. And that's all it was.
What troubles me, and I say this as a Jewish person who also has a brain and can see what's going on, the way that he has spoken about what is happening in present day, and some of the videos that came out of him allegedly yelling on the phone about getting paid
for it. Thank you.
It's like, dude.
Yep.
You are the stereotypical Jewish man of everything that we don't want to be.
Mm-hmm.
And it hurts.
Yeah.
And even if you are, no matter where you are politically, don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't be that guy.
Yeah.
So that's what hurt me. So with all that being said, would you have I'm thinking of the way to phrase this. Would you have a drink with him? Would you have dinner with? I don't even know if you drink. Would you have dinner with him? Would you smoke a cigar with him?
No. Those things exclude you from manhood. No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't sit with him in any kind of way.
What if he saw you in New York on the street?
Depends on the day. It depends on the day. So people who are saying there's nothing going on wrong, that's crazy to me.
I know.
Feel what you feel, but don't sit there. Don't pee on my leg and tell me it's raining. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't like that. A lot of people that I love dearly, between Trump and this Zionist movement stuff, I've lost a lot of friends, man.
Yep.
It's crazy. Like people I've known for 20 years and more. Like I'm like, wow, this is who you really are.
Mm-hmm.
It's really troubling.
I think of politics now less as left versus right and much more as top versus bottom.
Yeah.
Because
You're right.
I just see how we are all pitted against each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean literally.
Sure.
These social media platforms, they only get clicks when there's conflict.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They don't get clicks when we're having a conversation, when we're understanding each other.
Right.
That doesn't get anybody any profit.
Right.
And so the Rupert Murdochs of the world, the cable news networks, the social media platforms, the Zuckerbergs and Musks, these platforms are literally tearing us apart.
You're onto something. I think what you're saying is absolutely true, though, that it's not us versus them. It's the top versus the bottom.
And I don't know if everyone is fully awake to that we're getting played.
I don't think people are, and I think you saying it is very important.
If we recognize that we have far more in common than the stuff that divides us, then that's a threat to their power. It's a threat to their wealth. That unity, that loving your enemy is not just morally good. It's not just idealistic. It is good strategic advice.
That's part of the problem, is that the people that are in power want to stay in power. And the best way to stay in power is to enrich the other people around you that are like you and create laws and create a structure that allows you to maintain ridiculous wealth.
Yep.
And suppress competition.
And divide everyone to keep them distracted.
We have showcased Texas Democrat James Talarico before. Now,
and again, this is very personal, given how important my faith is to me, but I'm a Christian, and I think there is no more dangerous form of government than theocracy. Because the only thing worse than a tyrant is a tyrant who thinks they're on a mission from God.
We haven't had any good examples of that in the past.
No.
There's not one that you go, well, that one worked out.
Right. And so this is people trying to use my religion to control people.
Yeah.
That's the name of the game. And we're seeing that here. I mean, Texas I'm an 8th-generation Texan. My family's been here since it was Mexico. I love this state. But I've just seen people like Dunn and Wilkes just take us in this far-right culture war direction at the expense of actual problems we need to solve. One of the bills that didn't pass last legislative session was a bill that would have provided funding for flood mitigation and emergency systems to get the word out when there's a flood. And we literally just saw the consequence of not passing that.
he showed so many Joe Rogan fans not only what good policy could look like.
Texas is probably the hardest place to vote in the country, just in terms of the paperwork, the requirements, the hoops you got to jump through.
How so, though?
There's a whole host of things. The fact that we don't have online voter registration in the state, when a lot of other states do. I mean, think of all the things you do online. Voter registration is not one of them. The IDs that now count for registering to vote or voting are very selective. So, for instance, if you got a concealed carry license, that license counts as ID, which I agree that it should. But a student ID from a college or university doesn't count as an ID.
You have to get a driver's license.
Yeah, you got to go get a driver's license. And again,
what
for
about
someone
passport? Passport.
Yeah,
work,
passport.
Right?
But again, I didn't have a passport for most of my life. Right?
Right.
I didn't travel outside the country till I was, I was in my 30s, and so I didn't have a passport. A lot of people don't have a driver's license, especially older folks. So the point is that these rules get added on top of each other and make it even more difficult.
But he also heard this from the famous podcast host.
There's reason and good reasons to be disillusioned. I guess all I'm pushing back on is that second step of it's always going to be this way.
Right. It doesn't have to be
Right.
this way.
That is the key step.
Right.
So I'm
That's
not on.
because you need to run for president. It's 'cause you
Yeah.
we need someone who's
I-
actually a good person.
Well-
because the Democrats have very few candidates that are.
Can I actually push back on that?
Please.
Because we were talking about how politics has become a religion. This is one of the ways it does, is people put all their faith in a politician.
No, but I'm not saying that.
I've seen it with Bernie.
Yes.
People, and I like Bernie a whole lot, but some people treat him as if he's a messianic figure.
Well, because he's
And
one of the
Trump on the
only
right, people
ones-
treat him as a messiah in some ways. Like, this is
Bernie's
a problem.
One of the only ones that's been remarkably consistent in his entire career.
I know.
And so
but he's still a flawed human
Yes,
being, right? I
but
mean, just like
that's
we all
so
are.
rare. It's so rare.
I know,
And
but my
think
point
that
is-
should be praised.
But instead of, like, the change is going to come from your listeners,
Yes.
not from me, right? I can be a part of that, but I mean, if there's any hope I can give people, it's that the people in power, including the billionaire mega donors who basically run this whole thing, and I can get more into that if you want,
Please do.
but they are very afraid of the power that the people have.
He said Talarico should run for President of the United States of America. Recapping his session with Politico, Talarico said this: I just got the overwhelming impression that Joe Rogan is not loyal to either political party and is deeply skeptical of our political system as a whole. I think that skepticism also applies to Donald Trump, just like it did to Joe Biden last year. He'd also say, I got the impression the reason Joe Rogan has the most popular podcast in the country is because he speaks for a lot of people who don't feel like they belong in either political party and are rightly suspicious of a corrupt political system. Part of my nerves going in was coming on as an elected official, but I think I was able to shed some light on why the system is broken, at least at the state level, and why it's not working for people, and possible solutions for how to change it. While Politico's headline was fawning over Talarico, the National Review's Jim Garrity typed, and while Democrats haven't won a statewide election in Texas since 1994, all streaks come to an end someday. Some Democrat will win a statewide election in the Lone Star State again. Just keep in mind, colonies on Mars may arrive first. Now, if one has no clue of Talarico's work,
This bill is insane. This legislature legalized hemp 6 years ago. But instead of regulating this booming industry in our state, we are now going backwards to the days of prohibition. This bill is not going to stop Texans from smoking weed or eating edibles just because a bunch of politicians in Austin tell them not to. Texans will still use THC, but instead of getting it safely from a local small business, they'll now get it from the black market, from the drug cartels. This ban is a gift to the cartels. We are now telling full-grown adults how to live their lives. This is the nanny state at its worst. This is big government at its worst. I thought the Republican Party believed in limited government.
he stands up for marijuana legalization.
Can you name a school where it has been confirmed that students are using litter boxes?
Well, what we do with this bill is we prevent that from happening, but what we don't take out, and I know we've talked about some active shooter situations, and there's been talk that this bill will ban the litter box for active school situations, and they're called the go buckets.
Okay, and so I just want to ask the question again. Mm-hmm. Can you name a school where it has been confirmed that students are using litter boxes? This was at the top of your press release. This was mentioned when you introduced this bill, created quite a stir among public school educators across the state. And so I'm asking, can you name a school where it's been confirmed that there are litter boxes being provided to students?
For this purpose, no, I cannot on the litter box side.
He calls out the conspiratorial BS from MAGA Republicans.
Is there a separation of church and state in this country?
That's an interesting question that has been debated a great deal. Do you think that our forefathers...
I want to give you a chance to talk, but I also just want to make sure that I'm getting an answer to my question. Is there a separation of church and state?
Did those that first Congress, that earliest Congress, when they authorized the production of a complete King James Bible, was that a separation of church and state?
I'm just asking you a simple question.
I think that I think I've answered it.
Do you know who coined the term separation of church and state? Who is that?
I believe it was Jefferson.
Thomas Jefferson.
Yes.
Yeah. Thomas Jefferson in that letter was referring to the First Amendment of the Constitution, the Establishment Clause and the Free Exercise Clause, which clearly create a separation of church and state.
I have some scholars here that can better answer your specific questions, and I am not that person.
Okay. We established that our founding fathers wanted a separation of church and state. But,
I did not establish that. I absolutely did not establish
Historical
that.
Historical fact established that.
I disagree with that.
Do you think the Constitution is foundational to our country?
I do.
Why doesn't your bill mandate that the Constitution be posted in every
Well,
classroom?
if you want to carry that bill, you can. I'm carrying the bill that I chose to carry.
Yeah, and I'm not interested in micromanaging what posters are put up in classrooms, which is why I would never carry a bill like this.
And he also calls out the inadequacies of religious fundamentalists in our government. In closing, I agree with most of what he said in the Politico interview. What I think gets me is so many people just bend over backwards because they are so desperate for some sort of Dem to win in Texas, to represent the state in DC. And what isn't talked about enough is sort of what Talarico discussed on Joe Rogan's platform. It is the sheer, clear-cut corruption in order for one party to benefit and the other party to be left powerless. On top of that, an important point that he made was when Rogan made the comment of, we really need you to run for president, he wanted to be abundantly clear. It's not about me, it's about the people. We shouldn't put all of our trust in a politician. Bernie Sanders is flawed, clearly. Every single politician is flawed. But it should be dictated by the people. It should not be dictated by a politician, which I thought was selfless, honestly. Confidently selfless. He's put up a lot of good stuff. I appreciate his advocacy. I appreciate what he's done in Texas. I know it's very difficult to do. He represents a sliver of Austin, I believe. So kudos to him for going into Rogan's podcast with an open discussion, clearly. Because he said he wasn't even prepared with a lot of the things that they were going to talk about. So I commend him for it, and I think he did a really good job. Hey, I appreciate you watching. Now, if you can, please do become a channel member by going to youtube.com/TYTsports and clicking the join button. If that's too much for you, you can just go to tyt.com/join to become a member. It helps all of us out here at the Young Turks and keeps our network afloat. In addition, you could follow me on my socials on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Appreciate the love. Have a great day.